Passive income won't make you rich. In fact, 90% of what you've heard about it is a lie, and today I'll show you why.
People talk a lot about passive income.
It is not a thing.
Every millennial's dream is, I'm going to get passive income. And it doesn't exist.
Hey, I'm Luke Rogers. I bought my first property at 21, and since then, I've built a multi-million-dollar property portfolio. I'm not here to sell you a course or a deal. I just want to share the hard lessons I learned chasing this so-called passive income. So why is everyone so obsessed with passive income? Let's break down the myths, the scams, and the reality. Usually when someone's selling you passive income, it's either a scam, multi-level marketing company, or a digital product promising to make you rich. In this video, I'll explain why passive income won't make you rich, break down the misconceptions, and show you what real passive income looks like. Once you get this, you won't fall for the pipe dream. So what actually is passive income? Technically, it's money you earn with little or no effort. But these days, people use it as a catch-all for anything that isn't a job. And that's where the confusion starts. Here are the common types of passive income. Real estate rental income, shares, ETF, dividends. This includes safe withdrawal rate, but I'll talk about that later. Bonds, cash in the bank in the form of interest payments. And here are the ones that people say are passive income. Online courses you make once, then continue to sell. Digital products, royalties on books, music, or other IP you own. But here's where people get it wrong. Things like this are actually residual income. Let's start with the ones that people love to pitch as passive income, but really aren't. I don't personally like to include online courses or digital products or even dropshipping in the bucket of passive income, because these are things that take work to build. And even if you build it, get it up and running, market it to the point of making you money, if you don't continue to market it or update it, you risk the returns dwindling to nothing. I personally categorize this as a side hustle or starting a business. Very rarely can you start a business and have it be set and forget without ongoing maintenance or updates due to new technology or new things in the industry. Therefore, in terms of passive income, to me, that's not passive income. That's just starting a side hustle. Same with book or music royalties. Unless you inherit the rights or the IP, it takes huge upfront work or capital. That's residual, not passive. Now let's talk about my wheelhouse, real estate. Here's where I am mixed. On the one hand, everyone who is a fan of real estate always talks about the passive income potential of rental properties. On the other hand, real estate is more work to buy and hold than what people think. One of the big issues with generating passive income from real estate is because the price per property is so high, unless you have a heap of money, you need leverage. You need a loan. And because of the interest payments, you rapidly start eating that passive income. By the time you add rates, maintenance, and interest, you're often negatively cash flowed. You only see the passive income decades later when you've paid off the loan, or if you already own millions in property outright. So you can slowly pay it down and get passive income in 30 years, or buy the property outright. This is why I think passive income from real estate is significantly more challenging than people make it out to be. So unless you have millions of dollars in real estate owned outright and paid off, it's the long game. My wife and I purchased a block of units in a regional area of Queensland in an attempt to increase our rental income, thereby enhancing our attractiveness for banks for additional real estate loans, which heavily rely on income. So the yield was relatively high, and we had quite a bit of rent coming in. But because it was low socioeconomic area, the maintenance was huge. There was constantly a lot of willful damage, and it made owning the place a nightmare. We ended up going through insurance to get the repairs. After all the damage, repairs, and insurance claims, it was very nearly uninsurable. I dreaded every call or email from the property manager. That's not passive. That's just pure stress and anxiety. In the end, we sold it, and because the capital growth was slow, we essentially just got back our initial investment minus some holding costs. So it was overall a loss on that particular investment. So what actually counts as passive? Let's start with shares and ETFs. This is actually a pretty decent method of passive income, probably one of the more passive of the passive income sources. This comes in the form of dividends, which is where the company pays some of the profits back to the shareholders. Not all shares offer a dividend, however. For the ones that do, simply owning a share entitles you to this dividend. If you're investing in shares from your own country, often these can be fully franked, which is where the company has already paid tax on the money. So you only have to pay the difference between the company tax rate and your personal tax rate. Shares or ETFs offer another type of passive income, which is often referred to as the safe withdrawal rate, where you have an amount invested, and if you are banking on a 10% annual return, for example, you're in the S&P 500, then it would be safe to withdraw 4 to 5% and still grow your investment by that 5 to 6% per annum. This is reasonably controversial and a massive debate on the internet about what a safe withdrawal rate should be. But hey, that's a whole other topic. The problem is you can't really side hustle or make a share portfolio. You can only buy it. So you need the money up front to get the passive income. Or another option is you can dollar cost average and buy/build this over time, which is a topic for another video. The other way to get a large share portfolio is to work in a company that offers shares or stock options as part of the salary package. So in that sense, I guess you could hustle your way to passive income. But let's talk about bonds. Bonds are typically government or company issued papers that promise a fixed rate of return. The actual yield is dependent on the prevailing interest rate level at the time to remain competitive. This is essentially a means for governments or companies to raise capital for spending or investment. This is also a very passive way of earning income, as once you own the bond, you receive the yield. So I actually put this as true passive income. Once again, though, this is bought, not built. You need the money first before you get the passive income. So another method is cash in the bank or getting interest payments on your cash in the bank. This is the easiest way to earn passive income. Step 1, put cash in the bank. Step 2, earn passive income. Great, right? Well, not so fast. Because of inflation, your money will actually be going backwards in real value over time. Think about it. If you had $100,000 in the early 20th century, you could probably buy a whole city. A slight hyperbole. Now, if you had 100K, you can barely buy a tin shed in a capital city in the Western world. So realistically, it may seem like a safe investment, but it is actually the most surefire way to lose money over time. I'll bring up crypto here because it would be remiss of me to leave it out. Yes, you can earn passive income through staking or lending cryptocurrency. However, again, you really need the money to buy enough crypto to generate a decent return on your investment, as yields vary greatly between different types of cryptocurrencies. I won't delve too much into the topic as it's a deep rabbit hole to go down, but realistically, once again, you need the asset in the first place to invest the crypto to get a good return on your investment. Even with farming or harvesting crypto, it's so expensive from a hardware and energy consumption perspective that it's not really achievable for most people. If you would like more information about this topic, please leave a comment below and let me know. So, why did I say passive income won't make you rich? Well, people often think they will get rich with passive income, but as I've demonstrated, to get passive income, you really kind of need the money to invest in the first place. So for example, to get 50K passive income, you need around $1 million invested. If you already have $1 million invested, you're already rich. Congratulations. In my experience with passive income, if you want it, you need to buy it. And that usually comes at a rule of thumb return rate of around about the 5%. Yes, this varies greatly, and of course you can get higher yields, although usually with higher risk. If somebody is promising passive income with no money down, I would argue that it's either a scam or not real passive income. Maybe they're selling you on a multi-level marketing company, in which case you need to recruit other people to the company, which is, I would argue, not really passive. Or make and sell a digital product, not passive, more of a side hustle. Or if someone is promising over 15% return on your investment or ROI, I would be very hesitant, as it's either a scam to get your money or it's just super risky. Here's the truth. Passive income won't make you rich. It's what you get when you're already rich. If you want to learn how to actually build lasting wealth so that you can buy yourself passive income, hit subscribe. My next video is all about building sustainable wealth, and you don't want to miss it. Oh, and before you go, drop a comment with the craziest passive income scheme you've ever seen. Thanks for watching.